Yo, what's up guys, it's Destiny and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video I want to show you guys how to build a fully functional URL shortener with Django. And if you want to see more videos like this, make sure to drop a like on this video and consider subscribing, as it will mean the world to me. So without any further ado, let's get started. Okay guys, before we go ahead and start building out this URL shortener, I want to show you guys what the end product of this is gonna look like. So over here at port 8000, we have this really nice looking interface, and all we have to do is input a URL in here, click on shorten, and it's gonna shorten it for us. So let's just put in a URL over here, and this is my YouTube channel URL, www.youtube.com/Desphixs. Now when you click on the shorten button over here, what do you notice? It gets this shortened URL over here, and it's showing the local host at the back because we haven't hosted this on the web. When we host it on the web, it's going to be just a very short URL that we're going to be using. So we're also using localhost because it's still on our local PC. So all we have to do is copy this shortened link over here. So we copy it, or we could just say go to this link that's shortened already, and what do you notice? It starts opening up my YouTube channel just like that. And I think someone's gonna play over here, so I'm just go ahead and pause that. Okay, so as you can see, it went ahead and opened up my YouTube channel. So you're gonna have a whole lot of fun building this, and you could add whatever link you want into here. It's gonna shorten it, then you could take the link and embed it wherever you want. And if you guys want to see me host this on Heroku with new URLs, just drop a comment on this video below, and definitely I'm gonna make a video showing you guys how to host this on the web. So let's get started. So in order to start building this application, all you have to do is go ahead and create a projects folder, and in the projects folder we're going to install Django in it. So if you're on a Mac, you want to open up your terminal, but if you're on the window, you want to open up your CMD, the command prompt. So I'm just going to open up my command prompt, and in here I want to make a folder on my desktop. So firstly, I'm just going to cd into desktop, and I'm going to make a new folder on desktop for my project. So I'm going to say make dir, which is mkdir, and let's just say we're going to name it URL shortener, whatever, or let's say URL shortener. So I want to go into the folder that we just made, URL shortener, and in here we want to make a virtual environment. So that's going to be done with py-mv, then followed by whatever you want the name of the virtual environment to be. In my case, it's vnv. So we just give us a couple of seconds, and it should get successfully installed on our PC. And when it's done, the next thing we want to do is just go ahead and activate it, then install Django into the virtual environment. So let's just give this a couple of seconds now. Okay guys, and as you can see, it successfully installed the virtual environment. So the next thing I want to do is go ahead and activate it. If you want to do that, firstly you just call the name of your virtual environment followed by a backslash, then /script/activate.path, just like that. And when you hit enter, you see it gets activated over here. So the next thing I want to do is go ahead and install Django. So it's very easy. All you have to say is pip install Django, and you want to make sure that you have an active internet connection for this to work perfectly fine. So I'm gonna just say pip install Django, hit enter on my keyboard, and we'll give this a couple of seconds to successfully install Django for us. So let's just wait for this. Okay guys, and as you can see, it successfully installed Django. So the next thing I want to do is go ahead and make a projects folder, a projects from Django. And in order to do that, you want to say Django-admin start project. So I'm saying start project, and let me just make sure I'm getting the spelling of that correct. Then I'm going to name my project, let's say URL shortener PRJ. So the PRJ just stands for projects, and we hit enter on our keyboard. So after this, we just want to go into the projects folder, that's URL shortener PRJ, and we're going to make an app. So we're going to say pythonmanage.py start app, and let's say we want to name it URL, or let's say shortener. Yeah, let's just say shortener. Okay, that's good. So shortener, and it works totally fine. So in case you're a beginner and you don't know the way I go into projects, it's just by saying cd. So when I say cd, that means I want to go into somewhere. It stands for change directory, and to make a new project, it's mkdir. It stands for make directory. So that's pretty much all I used over here, and hopefully you understood how we created the projects over here and how we created the app over here. But if you don't, just go a few steps back and watch the video from beginning. You should definitely understand everything. So with all this done now, next one do is just go ahead and open up our projects folder in a code editor or in an IDE. So in this case, in this tutorial, I'll be using PyCharm IDE. So I have PyCharm open up here already. All I just want to do is come over to open, and I will locate where I stored my projects folder. If you remember, we stored it on the desktop, and it's on the desktop. So we're just gonna go over to desktop. Let me see. I think it's Okay, I'm not on the desktop yet. Just want to look for desktop over here. Let's see. This project, this is desktop, and this is it over here, URL Shortner. So I'm gonna just click on OK, and it should successfully open this up in here in PyCharm. Let me see. I think I have two windows opened up. Okay, everything should be working really fine. As you can see, it's preparing the workspace, so just gives a couple of seconds and everything should work fine now. Okay guys, after this is done, the next thing we want to do is just go ahead and run our development server and make sure that everything is working totally fine. So let's just go ahead and run our development server. So in order to run a development server, you want to open up your terminal, or you could just go back to the CMD again if you want. That's the command prompt. But over here, I'm gonna just say venv activate venv scripts. So I want to activate my virtual environment in here, script /activate.bat, just like that. And in here, I'm just going to go into my projects folder where my manage.py is stored. So it's in URL. Okay, I'm just supposed to do that in here. So it's in URL Shortner prj, and I'm going to say python manage.py run server, just like that. So run server, and we're gonna give this a couple of seconds, and as you can see, it opens this up on port 8000. So what I want to do is just open up my browser. You can open up Microsoft Edge or whatever. In this case, I'll be using Google Chrome. So let me just go ahead and open that up. Okay guys, over here, what I just want to do is go over to port 8000, and we should see that Django was successfully installed. So we are seeing this page because we have no URLs configured, and you can see that over here. So let's go ahead and configure some URLs, and hopefully everything should look better when we are done. So what you want to do is open up this one that has the views.py, which is the app folder, and then you want to open up this one over here, which is the projects folder. So firstly, let's open up settings.py and install our application. So I'm just come over here and say import OS. Firstly, we're going to use that for templates, but before that, let's go ahead and install our application. So the name of our app is Shortner, so we're just going to install it over here, Shortner. So there are so many ways of installing application. You can install shortner.apps.shortner config and all that, but I think the easiest way to do that is just call the name of your app in here, Shortner, followed by a comma. Okay guys, after this, we are going to we're going to configure our template. So in the template section in the directory, this dirs over here, I just want to say os.path.join, and I'm going to join the base directory with a folder that I'm going to create in a couple seconds that we called templates, just like that. So let's go over and create the folder. It's going to be where our managed.py is, and that's going to be this one. So I'm just right click over here and come over to new, come over to directory, and I'm going to name this template. So with this now in here, I want to create just two templates, I think. Okay, we can just create one is okay. Let's just call it home.html. Yeah, home.html is okay, and I'm just get rid of this, and let's just create a h1 tag and say the home page, whatever. Just want to make sure that it's working fine. So we see the home page, and let's just go ahead and close this off. So we now have a template over here. The next thing I want to do is just create views for it and map our URLs. So we're going to come over to views, and we're going to create a new function based view, and we're going to call that home. So we just say home, just like that, and it's going to inherit from request, and there's going to be a colon at the back. So after this, we're just going to return render, and this render is going to take in request and the name of our template, which is home.html. So with all this now, we are pretty much done with the views. Let's go ahead and map our URLs or configure the URLs. So I want to come over to the Shortner app and right click, come over to new, come over to Python file, and I want to create a new file named the urls.py, just like that. And in here, that's where I'm going to map URLs for our application. So I'm just say from Django.urls. Okay, I think I'm not getting some things over there. So I'm just say from Django.urls. I want to import path, so I'm just going to import path. Then I'm going to say URL patterns should be equal to a list, and this list is going to have parts. First of all, it's going to have an empty string, which means that whenever we go to port 8000, we want to see our home page. And finally, we're going to have views.home, and we're also going to have name. Not really necessary, but let's just stick with some things over here. We're just gonna say name. So as you can see, this views over here is getting an error, and if you check out the error, it's gonna say cannot reference function views, something like that. And that's because we haven't imported this view that we did over here. So we just want to import it, and you want to import it, just say from dot import views, and everything should work totally fine now. So let's go ahead and refresh our website. But take note, if you refresh this, nothing is gonna work, see? And that's because we haven't configured our URL in the main project settings.py. Sorry, the main project urls.py. I was saying settings.py. So firstly, to do that, I want to import include over here, close to path, and I'm going to create a new path just like that, path, and I'm going to pass in an empty string signifying that I want to go to the home page. So an empty string over here means that whenever I come over here, I want to see my home page. Let's say I see something like blog slash. That means if I come over here, I'm not going to see my home page. I have to come over to slash blog if I see my home page, whatever. So with this now, the next thing I want to do is just go ahead and include. So I'm going to include Shortner. So you remember we have an app named Shortner, and in the app we have a file named URLs. So just like that. Now let's come over here and refresh and see. So as you can see, it's working totally fine. We have the home page. Now the next thing I want to do is just come over here and come over to our templates file and to the home.html, and I want to override this and add my own templates. So I don't know if it will actually feel good if you guys watch me write down all the code for the front end, but I think I already did that, so you don't have to stress or watch me do that. All you have to do is just check the link in the description below from GitHub. You can get all the code that was used in this video, so go ahead and get that. Let me just go ahead and grab a code that I've already written down for this course, and this is it over here. I'm gonna just copy this, come over here, and let's paste this. So with this now, everything should work totally fine. Let's just go ahead and refresh our site. So refresh our site. Okay, as you can see, we get this error that says templates blah blah blah, could not pass or remain that link here. Okay, when I was building this out, there's a section over here that I said new link will be here. So I'm just supposed to get rid of this. It was just like a reference, something like that. So when I get rid of that, everything should work totally fine. So you see we have this really nice looking interface over here for the URL Shortner. So what I'm gonna do is come over here and put in a URL here. So when I put in www.youtube.com/c/Desphixs and click on shorten, I actually wanted to show a new link over here. That's gonna be the shortened link. So that's actually what we're gonna do. So let's just go ahead and start doing that. It's gonna be really fun and amazing. Okay guys, in order to start doing this, firstly we need to create a model. So to create a model, now what we need in our database is just two tables. So if you really know Django well, you just know that models are like database. Yeah, they just compare to database in Django. So I just want to create two tables in our database. So one of the tables is gonna have is gonna be able to contain the raw link, which is this one over here, which is like the main raw link. Then another section of the table is gonna have the shortened link, so it's gonna have the ability to hold the shortened link. Hopefully you understand all this in a second. Let's just go ahead and build out the models. So we're gonna say class, and we can name this model anything. Let's just name it links, and it should inherit from models.model. I don't really like this name link. I think we should change it, or you can stick with it if you like it. Let me just say URLs. Let's just say URLs. That's not bad. Now the first thing we need is a link. Like we need a table that's gonna hold the original link. So we're just gonna create link, and we just name this models.charfield, and we're gonna give this a max length of max_length of 1000. Yeah, let's say 1000 or 10,000, because I think some links are like really long. So the next one we need is UUID, just like that, UUID. So this is gonna be like the user UID that's actually gonna contain the small shortened link. So this now, what I'm gonna do is just give it still say models.charfield, and we're gonna give this a max length of let's say 100 or 10. Let's just stick with 100. That's better. So with this now, we are done. All we have to do is go ahead and register our database in the admins.py. But maybe you won't understand what this is if you're a beginner, but let's just go ahead and practicalize this so you actually understand. So firstly, I want to access my admin page, and how do I do that? I have to come over to 1200 port 8000. You could just call that and come over to /admin. So over here, I want to access an admin page, and this is it over here. So I have to log in with some some information, so I can click on login. But right now we get an error. First of all, it says no such table _user, and that's because we need to migrate. So whenever you do anything in Django in your models.py, you want to make sure that you make migrations and migrate. So firstly, let's just see the into URL Shortner prj, the project folder, and we're gonna say python manage.py. So python manage.py, make migrations, just like that. Then we're gonna give this a couple of seconds. You should make the migrations. Then we should say python manage.py migrate. They give us a couple of seconds too. You should go ahead and migrate everything to our database. So when it's done, you actually see that this error over here is gonna be gone. So we refresh this, and as you can see, the error is gone. But now we have another error that says please enter the correct username and password for a staff account. Note that both fields may be case sensitive. So now, how do you actually get a user for this particular application that we're building? And that's going to be done using the create super user. So we're going to say python manage.py create super user, just like that. And I think I didn't actually get a spelling over there, so I'm going to say create super user. I'm going to hit enter on our keyboard. So firstly, you can pass in the username over here, whatever you want to use as the username in here, over here in this username. So whatever you want to use there, just pass it in. And if you want to stick with like the normal name that you have on your browsers, on your autofill, Google autofill, something like that, then you can just leave it blank. So in my case, I'm just leave it blank to use Destiny. I don't need the email address. All I just need is a password. So I'd recommend you use a very, very simple password, which is testing321, testing321. So you'd actually go through changing passwords and all that always. So with this now, when I click on login, we should successfully get logged into our database. So now we are logged in, but what we'll have is just two database over here, group and users, or we should just call that two tables, whatever. But how about our URLs that we created? This one, we can still find it over here, and that's because we haven't registered it in our site. So come over to admins.py and import it. So we're gonna say from .models, we want to import URLs, just like that. Then to register it, you're gonna say admin.site.register, just like that, and we're gonna pass in URLs. So when you come over here now and refresh, what do you notice? We have URLs, but that's not actually what I want. It says URLSS. That's not what I want. I want to just come over to my models.py. Where is my models.py? And I think, where's the problem from? I can't even tell. So it says URLSS, and that's not what I need. I don't need URLSS, I just need URLs, just like that. But I don't know why it's showing that over here. It actually gets. So I told you guys earlier that when you do something over here, you want to come over here and refresh, or else nothing is gonna work. So you want to just come over here and say python manage.py make migrations, and it's gonna ask you something like, okay, it says cannot import name URLs from Shortner the models. Okay, all this is just because I removed this S over here. Everything should work totally fine now. Let's see. As you can see, everything's working totally fine, but I don't know why this is still using URLSS. That's weird. But for now, let's just leave it. But if you encounter an error with that in the future, we just go ahead and solve it. But for now, let's just leave it. Okay. The next thing we're going to do after creating this model is to actually go ahead and do some things in our home.html. So in our home.html, you see we have this. Let me just come over to our website again. You see we have this box over there that allows us to type in something. It's called inputs. So we have this input and we have this button over here. So those two things now should be in a form tag. And there's one more thing I want to tell you guys. In this video, we'll be using Ajax to make this real time. So you take a close look. When we click on this now and click on Shortner, you see it refreshes this page, and that's because we are not using Ajax. So I'm going to use Ajax to make this real time. So let's just go ahead and start working. And when you're using Ajax, you don't use your normal method equal to post in form tags. Let's just go ahead and do it. Maybe you would understand. So what I did over here is just cut all this, then create a form tag, and we're gonna get rid of this action. Everything will be done in Ajax, so I get rid of that and paste this in over here. So with this now, you know the normal, let me just make sure everything is aligned. You know the normal method is equal to post that we usually use whenever we want to get a post from an input or something like that. Now we'll be using Ajax, so we don't have to do all that. All we just have to do is define this form and make sure that we're passing in a CSRF underscore token, or we're gonna get an error. So CSRF underscore token just for some security measures that was built into Django. And most importantly, you want to give this a name of link. link. Yeah, I just chose the name of link, and you want to give it an ID of link. So with all this now, that's the way we're going to connect to Ajax and make things work perfectly fine. So with all this now, I think that's pretty much all we need to do over here. Let's just go ahead and work with our Ajax. So I'm just going to open up scripts tag, scripts like that, and in the scripts tag I'm going to pass in. So we're going to have script, and in the scripts we're going to have a property that says type, and the type we're going to have text/javascripts, just like that. And in here I already have the scripts written down. We don't have to go ahead and type out everything from scratch. It's regular scripts that's always used when you want to make things real time in Django using Ajax. So I'm gonna just go ahead and copy the script, and I'm just gonna paste it in here. So I'm just go over here, copy the script, and just come over here and paste them. Okay, with this now, let me just go ahead and explain what the script is gonna do. So firstly, I want to get rid of this because I think I already have that over there in my script. So let me just get rid of the closing tag for the script too. So let me go ahead and explain what the script is gonna do. Firstly, we have documents done on submit of post form. So what it means is when this button over here, when the submit button is clicked, take note the type is submit. That's why we're using submit over here. So when this button is clicked, and this button belongs to the form, this form over here. So when it's clicked on post form, so the ID of this form is post form. That's what we used to identify it in the JavaScript. So when the button is clicked, when the forms button is clicked, what do we want to do? We went ahead and define a function, and we call the function e. So we now use the function e to make this prevent default. And what prevent default simply means is that we don't want to refresh our website when we click on the submit button. That's what it simply means. Then after that, we went ahead and started using Ajax. So firstly, we said type should be equal to post, and this type equal to post means that we are using the same thing as method. So you remember the way we say method is equal to post, that's exactly the same thing that type equal to post does. And URL is equal to create, I think is exactly the same thing as action. So you remember the way we do use action in our method, in our form. I said method, sorry for that. So the way we use action in our form, that's just exactly the same way it's done over here, URL create. And we're actually going to create a URL for this. And then after that, what we do is just get data of the whatever that was passed in here. So just get whatever that was passed in here, and it's stored in an ID of, sorry, in a name of link, ID of link too. So that was how we got it over here. This is it over here. It's stored in an ID of link, so make sure the ID is link, and that's what we got over here. So how do you mean we are using any other thing here? That same thing we're going to use in here. So we got the value, then we pass in a CSRF middleware token. This is just for security measures. And after that, we defined a success function and passed in h2, just like this. That's exactly the same place that we're going to be printing the shortened link. So that's why I'm just passing all this in. You're going to understand all this in a second. They just go ahead and start writing down some codes, and hopefully you're going to understand the way some things work over here. So firstly, I want to create a URL for this one that says create. So I'm just going to come over to urls.py, and there's it over here. I'm just going to come down here and say part, and we're going to say create. So it's going to be like an action URL, so no need of adding a slash to it. So we're just going to say create like that. Then secondly, we're going to say views.create, and we're going to give it a name, and this name is going to be create, just like that. But there's going to be an error if we run this because there's no comma over here. So just go ahead and add comma over there, and everything should work totally fine. So with this now, come over to our views.py again. We want to define a new function, and we're going to name this function create, and this function is going to take parameter of requests, just like that. So it's going to take a parameter of request, and the first thing we want to do is import some things. So firstly, we want to import our database. We're going to be using it. We're going to import what is called the UUID, and finally we're going to import what's called HTTP response. Okay, let's not import them yet. Let's just get to when we need to import them, then we're going to do that. So firstly, we want to check if the request that was used, so if request.method is equal to post. So if the request that's what's used over here, this is it. If the request that was used is post, then what do we want to do? We want to get whatever the user imputed into this place. Now we want to get whatever that was imputed in there. So how do we do that? So if the user is post, firstly we want to say URL should be equal to request.post, and we want to get link. So the name of this over here is link. This is it. So let me just come over here. The name is link. Let's come over here. See, that's why we are using link in there. So had it been the name of this one, let me bring this closer so we don't have to, and let me close up some things that I'm no longer using over here. Close this up, and let me close this up, and Close that up too. What else? I'm not using this any longer. I'm just gonna close it up. Okay, so what you're doing now is just defining whatever the user pass in here. That's what it's just did over here now. Okay guys, after this, the next thing we want to do is go ahead and make our dynamic URL. So we're going to make the converted URL. That's going to convert this into like the converted URL. And how do we do that? Firstly, we want to import UUID. So we want to import UUID. Then over here, we just want to say UID is equal to string. So firstly, we want it to be in a string format. So string format is going to have UUID.UUID4, just like that. And the next thing we want to pass in is the length of the length that we want. So we just want the length to be 5, and yeah, let's just say we want it to be 5, but this is not going to work fine because we actually want to do this outside here. So get this, and we're going to say 5. So this now, I think it should work good. And let me see if everything is actually looking good over there. I think I need to cover up something in here. Okay guys, so this now, the next thing I want to do is just go ahead and define the new URL. So we're just gonna say new URL, or let's say shorten the URL, or let me just stick with new URL. New URL is kind of better. So we're gonna say new URL should be equals to URL. Now we want to import our database, so we're just gonna come over here and say from .models import URL, just like that. And we're gonna say new URL, it should be equal to URLs, and we're gonna open this up. So there's a bit of logic that went into doing this. Firstly, I want to change this URL over here to link. So let's just change this variable over here to link, and everything should work fine. So we're gonna say link should be equal to link, and I'm gonna explain all this, so don't freak out. I'm gonna explain all this, and I'm gonna say UUID should be equal to UID. So just like this. Then I think that's pretty much all we need to do. Then let's just go ahead and save it. So we're gonna say new URL dot save, and let's just return the HTTP response of the new URL that was generated. I'm still gonna explain all this, so don't freak out. So I'm gonna just say from Django dot HTTP, I want to import HTTP response, just like that. So I'm just gonna come over here and say return HTTP response, and let's just return UID in a parenthesis. So this is pretty much what we need to do. Let me just go ahead and explain everything for you now, so you understand what's going on. So firstly, we created a JavaScript here over there that's going to help us make this page real time, so you don't have to refresh. And we passed in all this type equal to submit, name equals to link, ID equals to link, ID equals to post form. Added a CSRF token just to make our form actually get responsive in the back end. Then after this, now we came over to urls.py and made a URL for this. So we made a URL and called the URL create, gave it views.create a name of create. Then we came over to our views and made the functionality. So firstly, we said if request.method is equals to post. So if the method that was used is post, which is this one over here, I said it earlier. So if it's post, then that's what we got over here. We firstly want to check if the method that was used is post. So if it's post, we want to go ahead and get whatever the user imputes in here. So that's why we use link is equal to request.post link. And we used this because that's the name we gave our form. So you see this inputs over here, types text, we gave the name of link. So had it mean this is like link AAA, then over here we're going to use link AAA. Hopefully you understand what's going on. Let me just stick with what we were using before. So after we did this now, then we went ahead and imported UUID. So this is used to create like a unique user ID. So after that, we now say the UID, this is just a variable, is equal to string. So we want the new URL to be string. Then we say UID.UID4. This is just like a method that's used in this UUID package, something like that. Then we want the size of the URL to be 5. You can say 10 or 15, whatever. So just stick with 5. Then over here we can take the variable new URL and say the URL. So this is our database. Make sure we imported it over here. Is equal to link is equal to link. So let me just explain all this bit by bit. So the link, you remember in our models over here, we have this one that says link. So that's what you're using over here. This link over here, take note of that. This link is this one. So we say we want to set the link, this link. I told you that this link over here is going to store the original link. So I want to set this link to any link the user inputs. You remember we are using this to get whatever the user inputs in here. So we got what the user inputted in here, we saved it in the link. in the link that's in our database. So we save this in this link over here. Or let's say I want to change the name of this, or let's just stick with the name. Hopefully you understand what's going on. If you don't, just drop a comment on this video and I'll clarify whatever confusion you're encountering. So we said link should be equal to this link. So we are saying the original link should be set to our database, should be sent to our database. Then this one over here, UUID, just take a close look of what went into doing this. So this is it over here, UUID. This is another, like this is the unique UID that was generated. So the unique UID that was generated is now stored to the new one that's generated, and the new one was generated over here. You remembered we said UUID.UUID4, then one size to be 5. So this is it over here, this is it. And this one over here, what the user got, what the user typed into the input box is this one over here. Hopefully you understand what's going on. Then finally we saved it to our database, then return a HTTP response of the newly generated user ID, which is this one over here. So that's pretty much, I don't know, yeah, this is unique ID, yeah, unique ID, not user ID. I don't know why I just keep calling that user ID. So after that, that's pretty much all we need to do, apart from just seeing doing some things that's actually gonna go to dynamic URL and get links, then go to a certain page. I know you might not understand, but let's go ahead and do that, and hopefully you understand what I'm saying. So the next thing we want to do is just come over to our urls.py, and we want to create a new part. So create a new part, and this part, let's say we want to give it like search. Yeah, let's just say we want to name it search. And okay, I think this should be a dynamic URL. Oh yes, it shouldn't be a search, it should be a dynamic URL. So we want to open up angle brackets, and we're going to say str and pass in pk. So whenever we go to any string, we want to see a primary key there. So let's say, I don't know the easiest way that I'm going to explain this to you, but this is a dynamic URL. So with this now, I think that's pretty much what I want to do. Then we're going to say views dot, we're going to call it search, then views of search, and let's just give it a name. Let's just give it a name of, let's say name of search, whatever. Now let's go ahead and create this. Make sure I add in a comma over here. So let's go ahead and create this in our views.py. So come over to our views.py, and we're going to say define search, just like that, and it's going to inherit from request, and the request is supposed to be a lowercase. So we're going to say request, and we're going to add a colon over there. So this now, the first thing we want to do, and I think we also need to pass in pk over here. So let's pass in pk, just like that, and everything should work fine. So the first thing we want to do is get URL details. So we're going to say URL details, and this should be equal to urls dot objects dot get. So I'll explain this. So we want to get the user ID equal to pk. So I'll explain all this. Don't freak out, I'm explaining all this, all the logic that's going into doing this. Now after this, what I want to just say is a return redirect. So I want to import redirects over here too. So I'm just going to say redirect. So after importing redirects, I'm just going to say return redirect, and I want to redirect to, okay, let's say an empty string first, but in here we should have https column / then over here we're gonna have something that says plus URL details dot link. Don't worry, I'm gonna explain all this. I know you might not understand what's going on here, but I'm explaining all this. So after this now, I think that's pretty much all we need to do. Finally, we need to set like a place that the URL should go to in our home.html. So over here we want to set localhost. So we're going to open up double parentheses like that, and we're going to say localhost column 8000 should be set to /, then over here there's going to be plus data, just like that. That's pretty much what we need, and I'm going to explain all this. Just don't forget, I'm going to explain all this. So let's go ahead and run this and see if everything works fine. If everything works fine, that's actually going to be great. If it doesn't, we go ahead and fix the errors that we're going to get. So make sure your dev server is running, make sure you have an active internet connection. Then I want to refresh this, and so refresh this now. Let's pass in www.this and click on Shortner. So what do you notice? We get this link over here, and now let's say we want to copy this link and come over to a new tab and paste it. So paste it over here, hit enter on our keyboard. Now what do you notice? It takes us to youtube.com. hopefully you saw how everything worked really fine. Now let's say see, it's still opening up YouTube. Let's say we want to open up let's say Okay, let's say I want to open up maps here, something like that. I want to open up maps, and let's wait for it to load up. So after this now, let's say the URL is just way too long and I want to shorten it. So I'm gonna just come over here, copy this, and come over here and paste it just like that. And I want to get rid of the HTTPS. So with this now, I'm just going to click on shorten, and you see it creates a new one for us. So when we copy this now, come over here, paste it. Now what do you notice? It brings us to map. So as you can see, this is working totally fine, and it's really amazing. Now I want to go ahead and explain all this for you guys. So let me just go ahead and explain all this to you guys. Now we come over here, and firstly, you see the stuff that we did over here. You need to explain what's happened in the views.py before we come over here and start explaining the logic that went into doing this. So let me explain this. I already explained everything that went on here. Hopefully you understand. Now what we did over here was get like a dynamic URL. So what we did over here now is say URL details is equal to url.objects.get. So we want to get the particular link that the user sent in here. Let me come over there again. So we want to get the particular link that the user sent in here. That's what we did over there. We got it by the particular primary key. Then what did we now do? We now return the redirect. So it's gonna redirect to another page. Hopefully you understand. So we now return redirect, and in here we passed in HTTPS, so that's what we want to concatenate it with, plus URL details. So we passed in URL details that we got in here, dot link. So this link is this one over here. It's still just gonna go to the particular link, but we shortened it over here. And if you're a beginner, this is gonna be kind of confusing to you. I know all this I'm saying is gonna be kind of confusing to you compared to when you're a professional. You're gonna understand this more if you're a professional, but you're a beginner. Just keep practicing and practicing. Hopefully all this is gonna make sense to you. Then in our home.html, you see I used localhost 8000, and that's because I'm not yet hosting this. So if I'm gonna host this on, let's say, Heroku or on any other hosting platform, you're not gonna see localhost port 8000. You're gonna see like a totally different, let's say you can see something like Iraq or something like that, or let's say you're gonna just get a random thing that's gonna be very, very short. But since we are still working on our local host, that's why I'm using localhost column 8000. So I just used port 8000, then passed in data. So this data over here is just simply what we used to define. This is just like the way to get data of whatever that was passed into this link in Ajax. So we actually got what was passed into this link over here, set it to this data, then pass it in here. Okay guys, that's pretty much it for this video, and hopefully you understood the logic that went into building this. And if you're a beginner, this should be a bit advanced for you compared to when you're a professional. And if you're a beginner, I would recommend you keep on practicing. With time, everything should get clearer and better for you. So that's pretty much it for this video. Hopefully you understood something and learned something new in this video. If you did, don't forget to drop a like on this video, consider subscribing, and also drop a comment on this video about your thoughts on what I did over here. Let's say you have some contributions, or you have some corrections to make, or suggestions, whatever, just drop them in the comments. Everything is totally accepted, and I hope I'll see you in my next video. For now, my love, peace out.